Gametogenesis. Every human life begins with a spark, and that spark starts with just two tiny cells, the sperm cell and the egg cell. The foundational process of forming these two crucial cells is known as gametogenesis. So to put it simply, gametogenesis is the process where gamete cells are formed and matured. That means sperm cells in males and egg cells in females. Every single day, a man's body produces millions of sperm cells in the testicles. They're tiny, fast-moving, and have one mission to fertilize an egg. Meanwhile, a woman's body has already stored millions of egg cells in her ovaries since she was still a fetus. But throughout her entire life, only about 400 of those eggs will actually mature. And each month, one mature egg will be released from the ovary, travel down the fallopian tube, and wait for the possibility of meeting a sperm. So that's what we call the gametogenesis phase, the very first stage that lays the foundation for a human life. Don't forget to like and subscribe to keep us motivated to create more. Thank you. Fertilization. Once the egg reaches the fallopian tube, it can only survive for about 24 hours. But during that short window, if sperm enters the woman's body through intercourse, then this could be the moment which changes everything. Millions of sperm cells will race toward one goal, to find and fertilize the egg. But even though there are so many of them, only one sperm will succeed in breaking through the egg's protective layer. And once that single sperm makes it in, the egg immediately seals itself off to keep any others from entering. That's when fertilization happens, the moment when life truly begins. Zygote. After fertilization happens, the sperm and egg finally merge to form a brand new cell called a zygote. This tiny zygote carries the combined genetic material from both of our parents. And right here, this is where all our unique traits start to take shape. From skin color, eye color, face shape, height, to other genetic potentials, they all begin here. Even though it's incredibly small, the zygote is already alive and playing a crucial role. Once it's formed, it immediately starts dividing and begins a slow journey from the fallopian tube to the uterus. Along the way, the zygote keeps dividing into 2 cells, then 4, then 8, and so on. But at this point, everything is still happening at a microscopic level. There's no visible sign of a human form just yet, and if the zygote fails to reach the uterus, pregnancy simply won't happen. And still, this stage marks the starting line of the long marathon we call human life, because inside that tiny zygote, the complete blueprint of who we'll become is already written. Embryo. The embryo forms from the zygote as it keeps dividing and then attaches itself to the wall of the uterus. This process is called implantation, and it marks the very beginning of the embryo's development. At this stage, the embryo is still incredibly small, but inside, life is already growing rapidly and in an amazingly organized way. By the 3rd week, the embryo starts to develop 3 distinct cell layers, ectoderm, mesoderm, and endoderm, each of which will eventually become different organs in the body. Interestingly, by the 5th week, the heart begins to form and even starts to beat, even though it's still far from perfect. During this phase, the embryo also becomes protected by the amniotic sac and begins connecting to the placenta, which serves as the main channel for receiving oxygen and nutrients from the mother. But this is also a very fragile stage. The embryo is highly sensitive to medications, radiation exposure, viral infections, and even extreme stress experienced by the mother. That's why this stage is often considered the most critical period in laying down the foundation of human life, because even the smallest mistake during this time can have a lifelong impact. Fetus. By the 9th week of pregnancy, the embryo has rapidly developed into a fetus. You could say it's now a tiny human. At this stage, the shape of the head, hands, feet, and even ears begins to take form. By the 3rd month, the fetus starts developing fingerprints. In the 4th month, its sex organs become identifiable. By the 5th month, it can start sensing touch and responding to sounds from outside. In the 6th and 7th months, the emotional bond between the fetus and the mother grows stronger. It can hear her voice, feel her heartbeat, and even pick up on her emotions through hormonal signals passed through the placenta. So, if the mother is stressed, the baby feels it too, and when she's happy, the baby is calmer. Then in the 8th and 9th months, the brain starts developing rapidly. The fetus begins recognizing voice patterns and reacting to light from the outside. It also becomes more active, kicking, and even hiccuping. In the final months before birth, the fetus can open and close its eyes, suck its thumb, and even dream. And what's really fascinating is that inside the womb, the fetus isn't just growing physically, it's also quietly preparing everything it needs to face the world as a complete human being. Newborn. After birth, a human life begins the journey through the newborn stage, also known as the neonatal phase, which lasts from the very first day up to 28 days old. During this time, the baby's body is adjusting to the outside world. They're learning how to breathe, regulate their body temperature, and respond to sounds and light. One of the most important signs in this phase is the baby's very first cry. Medically, this cry shows that the baby's lungs are functioning and they can breathe properly. It also helps clear the airways and allows oxygen to circulate throughout the body. On the other hand, if a baby doesn't cry soon after birth, it might be a sign of breathing problems or certain medical conditions, and doctors will immediately step in to provide care. Newborns naturally have a set of reflexes like gripping a finger, sucking, or reacting to touch, and for now, crying is their only way of communicating. Infants. The infant stage lasts from around 1 month to 1 year old. During this period, a baby's development moves incredibly fast. They start learning to recognize voices and faces, lift their head, roll over, crawl, sit up, and eventually take their first steps. And it's not just physical growth, their brain and communication skills also begin to flourish. Around 5 to 6 months, babies start showing more expression when they feel happy or uncomfortable. For example, they might cry when their mother leaves because they're afraid of being left alone and smile when she returns. Between 10 months and 1 year, babies often begin babbling more frequently. Some may even start saying simple words like mama, papa, or similar sounds. This is also when babies start forming a sense of safety and trust with the people around them, while slowly building the foundation of their emotional world. Toddler. The toddler stage spans from age 1 to 5. It's the cutest time in a child's life, but also the most exhausting time for parents. At this age, toddlers become super active and often leave parents overwhelmed. They start to enjoy running around, climbing on things, and turning the house into a mess every single day. Their communication skills also grow rapidly. They go from saying a few simple words to forming funny little sentences filled with curiosity, like, "What is that?" or "Why is it like that?" Almost like a tiny scientist exploring the world. By age 2 to 3, toddlers start having lots of wants, asking for this and that, and expecting everything to go their way. And if things don't, cue the tantrums and tears, their go-to move for getting what they want. Then, by age 3 to 5, they start learning basic rules and routines like eating at the table, putting away their toys, and going to bed on time. They also begin learning how to share, recognize emotions, and develop empathy. In other words, they're slowly figuring out how to understand their own feelings and those of others too. Childhood. Between the ages of 6 and 12, a human enters the childhood stage. This phase is often called the calm period because both brain and physical development tend to be more stable compared to earlier stages. At this age, children start school, learn about discipline, responsibility, and begin to socialize with the world around them. Their learning abilities grow rapidly and their thinking becomes more logical. They're starting to understand the difference between right and wrong. Emotionally, they're usually more stable than when they were toddlers, but still, they need support, encouragement, and validation from the adults around them. Sometimes they start to show a bit of defiance, but on the other hand, they also have the desire to make their parents proud. Adolescence. Adolescence lasts from around age 12 to 18. It's a time full of turbulence, but also one of the most important stages in the human life journey. During this phase, teens go through rapid physical changes. Their voices start to change, body hair grows faster, and girls begin experiencing the early signs of puberty, such as breast development and their first period. Boys may also start having wet dreams. All of these are signs that their bodies are preparing for adulthood. Emotionally, teens can be unpredictable. Hormonal changes can make them moody, impulsive, or overly emotional. It's all part of their brain still learning how to manage thoughts and feelings. In this phase, many questions about identity start to appear like, who am I? What do I want to become? They begin to question the rules around them, learn to be independent, and start feeling love and attraction. They also often experience conflicts with their parents. But behind all the chaos, they're actually growing in remarkable ways. This is the phase of discovering their true identity. Even though it's full of challenges, it's a very important time for shaping their future personality. Young adulthood. Young adulthood begins at around age 19 and continues until 30. This is when humans are at the peak of their performance, the body feels stronger, and stamina is at its best. This is also a very crucial time to determine their fate in the next phase of life. At the beginning of this phase, humans start learning to live independently. They begin managing their own finances, making important decisions, and shaping the direction of their lives. After graduating from high school, most of them go on to college. Some also go straight into work, start building their careers, or search for their identity through real-world experiences. During this phase, they also start defining their lifestyle, thinking about plans to buy a house, and getting serious about relationships and choosing a life partner. And while they're in their prime years, many of them actually waste the opportunity. Instead of sharpening their skills and exploring new challenges, some tend to feel satisfied in their comfort zone and often get stuck in unproductive things, and many also get trapped by circumstances and the bitter realities of life. And sometimes, many of us don't even realize that our most productive years are quietly spent just feeling enough. Not because we're not capable of more, but because we've gotten too comfortable in our safe zone. We think everything is fine. Until time keeps moving, responsibilities start piling up. And only then do we realize that the big opportunities have long passed us by. Middle adulthood. As humans enter the age range of 31 to 50, they step into a phase known as middle adulthood. It's a stage where life starts to feel more stable, but also quietly more exhausting, especially on an emotional level. Many of them are right at the peak of responsibilities. They're busy working, building a career, raising children, maintaining a household, and facing financial pressures like their children's education fees, mortgage payments, or the cost of housing costs that continue to rise. Physically, the signs of change also start to show, like when stamina goes down, gaining weight becomes easier, and sleep doesn't feel as restful as it used to. Some people begin to question the direction of their lives, like, is this the right path? Is this the life I really want? And this is what's often known as a midlife crisis. But behind all of that, this phase can also be one of the most productive times in their lives. With plenty of experience and a stronger mindset, people slowly start to realize what truly matters and what's just a passing desire. Late adulthood. Between the ages of 51 to 65, humans enter what's known as the late adulthood phase. It's a time when the body starts to slow down, but the mind often feels more at peace. Physically, they're no longer as strong as they used to be, but deep inside, there's a sense of calm that wasn't there before. Many people start thinking about retirement, spending carefree days, and simply enjoying the time they have. Their kids have usually grown up and are living on their own. The once lively house may now feel quiet, but it's a peaceful kind of quiet, the kind that gives them space to reflect. And for those who have grandchildren, they often become the closest companions, a new source of joy that's simple, yet deeply meaningful. At this stage, a lot of people start to make peace with themselves. They forgive the past, accept reality, and try to appreciate every moment that's left. Some even feel that this is the most honest phase of life, the closest to the true meaning of living. It's no longer about chasing achievements, it's about finding peace. Elderly. At age 65 and beyond, humans enter what's known as the elderly phase. This is the final stage of their biological journey. The body grows weaker, skin begins to sag, muscles lose their strength, and memory slowly fades. Age-related illnesses also tend to appear around this time, from high blood pressure, heart disease, to diabetes, and an increasing risk of dementia. But not all elderly people are fragile and weak. Many of them remain active, healthy, and full of life, thanks to the lifestyle they've maintained since their younger years. Emotionally, the elderly tend to be more stable, but that doesn't mean they're free from pain. This phase often comes with feelings of loneliness and loss. One by one, the people closest to them start to go, spouses, dear friends, and even children who are now caught up in lives of their own. At this point, humans begin to reflect on the life they've lived, on the legacy they want to leave behind, on their relationship with the divine, and on how time feels closer to the end. In short, this is the phase where humans are gently invited to make peace and let go of everything. Death. In the end, every human will arrive at this point. The moment when the body stops moving, the brain no longer responds, the heart stops beating, and the final breath will be released. Medically, death is defined as the complete and irreversible shutdown of all bodily functions. But for many, death isn't just an end. It's seen as a transition to another realm, depending on one's beliefs and faith. For those left behind, the passing of a loved one often brings deep sorrow, but at the same time, it becomes a powerful reminder that life has limits. And in that stillness, a question often rises in the heart, like, if I were to die someday, has my life truly carried meaning and left something that matters? And one thing is certain, death makes all humans equal. No matter who you are, how much wealth you've accumulated, how precious your life feels, or how powerful your position may be. In the end, all of it will be left behind, and every human will face the same silence. That is, death. So, every stage of life is a lesson, and life's end is the start of a memory. If this video helped you, please like and subscribe, and let's keep learning together.